friends. My name is Deepak with Tax Code Advisors, and today we are going to talk about LLCs. So, those of you guys who are part of my small business advisory group or in some of my other groups, you probably hear me talk a lot about LLCs. So, I want to address some of the most common myths, some of the most common mistakes, some of the most common misunderstanding related to LLCs in today's video. So, let's get going. So one of the thing I see oftentimes when people like watching TikTok videos or watching YouTube videos, or they might, get an advice from a friend or a family member who might have hurt somebody else, and they go act on that advice. And what they would typically do is they will set up, way too many LLCs. They will have one LLC for their business, they will have another LLC for one real estate, and another LLC for another real estate, another LLC in Wyoming, another LLC in Nevada, another LLC in Texas, and it becomes a big mess. So my first request to you guys would be is before you make that decision and start setting up all these random LLCs, please reach out to a professional and try to learn if they make sense, and structure them in such a way that it makes sense. Just by registering an LLC, that's an important step, but it's not the only step. There are other things that you need to do with it to ensure that it fits well in your overall tax strategy, your business strategy, your planning strategy, what kind of outcome you want out of it, what do you want to do with that LLC 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. So that's one thing. So please don't go out there and start setting up these random LLCs. Even if you're setting it up one for your simple real estate, I would strongly advise that you reach out to somebody who is really, really good at it, who has been doing it for a while. They understand what LLCs can do for you. They have tax knowledge, they have finance knowledge, they're connected with attorneys, law firms, so that way all the pieces can work together and give you a good advice. All right. So why do you do LLC in the first place? So oftentimes people say, well, I want to set up the LLC because I want to save on taxes. Well, LLCs don't save on taxes. What LLC does is it provides you an asset protection. It creates a separation between business liabilities and your personal assets. So it creates a wall. Okay. But even that wall has some holes in it, right? And those holes are created by you. If you're, for example, if you have an LLC, but you have a domain name under your name, you have your, when you're writing an email, you're, not really sending it under LLC, or you're doing business for the most part under your personal name. All of those things can create a hole. So we talk about that when we create an LLC, to make sure you have proper operating agreement, you have proper structure in place to ensure that you fill in as much of those holes as possible. Another one is, does an LLC protect the assets within? So let's say you have an asset, let's call it a real estate. Maybe you bought a property or a condo or some sort of other real estate, and you create an LLC and you put that property in that LLC, and now something happens within that property. Will that LLC protect that property? Answer is no. The LLC will not protect the property itself, because the assets are linked to that LLC. What it will do is it will protect you, who is outside of that LLC. Nobody can go outside of that LLC, providing you have not created those holes within the LLC. So I'll keep coming back to that point because I see it so many times. People will have LLCs, people have S Corp, people have C Corp, and they will walk into our office and we'll take a look at that and we'll say, look, I think you need to do some more legal work on this. You need to get in touch with one of our attorneys who can help you out. So we partner up with some of the local attorneys here who can help our clients out. So and because we've been doing it for so while, we kind of have an eye out for it. So whenever we see a mistake, we can kind of point out and say, look, take care of this before it gets too late. Okay. Now, the misconception about LLC is that it protects the asset itself. So in reality, it protects you, not the asset. So understand that. That's a very, very common mistake that I see. And especially those people who come to us by watching a YouTube video or some sort of other influencer out there, they will come back and they will talk about COPE. For those of you guys who don't know what COPE is, COPE stands for Charging Order Protection Entity. It is a type of LLC available in certain states, so it's not available everywhere, that offers enhanced asset protection, both for the assets within the LLC and for the owner from the operations of the LLC. So it's a good thing. But the problem is, it's costly, so you have to pay money to set these up. And then they're also costly to operate on a regular basis. So they're not really a good strategy for everyone. And the problem comes when I see people walking in with these scopes and then all of a sudden go like, dude, this scope is costing me $10,000-$15,000 a year. How do I get rid of it? And now it's a whole lot of mess. So people got into it because they think that they're getting some protection, but on the other hand, maybe they have a protection, but now it's becoming a very costly mistake for them. So please try to avoid that. Learn a little bit about it, see how much it's going to cost you right now, how much it's going to cost you over the years. Do you even need it? Are there other alternatives to it? So once again, my request is don't act on that information right away. Just take some time, get to learn a little bit more about that. So how do you set up an LLC? The basic steps includes filing with the state, registering with the Secretary of State. You obtain a tax ID number from the IRS, and you set up a bank account. So that's a simple step. But like I said, that just gets your LLC registered. Okay. Besides registering your LLC, you should obviously also maintain your corporate minutes, have an operating agreement, keep your corporate books and stock certificates because they are crucial for respecting and basically protecting you. So if somebody ever challenges your LLC, you have all those kind of documents, they will protect you. So a lot of people are not aware of that and they're missing that. I mean, some of you guys watching this video, if you have an LLC already, ask yourself, I mean, how often are you maintaining your corporate minutes? How often are you updating your operating agreement? How often you're managing those books? All that kind of good stuff. Sometimes I'll hear, well, it's an LLC, so I don't have to do it. Once again, the idea here is if somebody challenges that LLC, how do you protect yourself? So what I'm talking about is things that can help you protect yourself. So and they're simple things. They're not that complicated to do. It's just that people don't do it. So please reach out to us if we can help you clean that up and get you in a proper order. Okay, so let's get to the basic of LLC. Now, LLC by default is a disregarded entity. It's kind of like Swiss Army knife, right? You can use it in so many different ways. You can use it as a partnership. You can use it as an S corp. You can use it as a C corp. So there are a lot of different ways to use an LLC. Now, do we recommend LLCs for business planning? People who are, starting up a new business. Maybe you have a side hustle. Maybe you are an Uber driver or Lyft driver. Where do we recommend LLCs? So some things are no-brainers. So I'll talk about that. So for example, if you have a rental property, it's a great idea to put that rental property in LLC. But before you do that, you need to understand some of the things. For example, what kind of loan would you get under LLC? If you need to refinance the property, how would you do that? Are there property tax issues that you should deal with? For example, if you're buying an investment property in California, there's Prop 13 and Prop 19 there. So how do you deal with that? If you're planning on keeping that property for a long time, can you also pass on that tax basis to your kids? So all of those things come into consideration when you're setting up an LLC. So when you come to us, obviously we at least at the bare minimum, I'll present those ideas to you, and then you decide whether you want to take care of those issues or not. But it's important that you understand those. Second thing is, let's say if you're starting out a new business, should you set up an LLC from day one, or you should not? So it depends. So if you are in a high risk business, for example, maybe you're starting out some sort of side gig where you're driving Lyft or Uber. You're on the road all the time, right? You're taking a lot of risk. If something happens, there could be consequences. Great idea to put that business under LLC. If you're buying a real estate, good idea to put that LLC, considering you understand all the other aspects. So very important. If you have a business that's making good amount of money, right now you can see that it's starting to materialize, it's making some money. Great idea to create an LLC. But do you need to do it on day one? Maybe, maybe not. Depends what kind of risk that you're taking by setting up that business. And these LLCs have life as well. So it's not like you set up an LLC and then you use that LLC for the rest of your life. They change it in nature. Maybe on day one, you're just a sole proprietor. Maybe after some time, we convert into an LLC. After some time, we convert into an S Corp. And maybe at some point, we might even consider converting into an C Corp, and sometime vice versa. So, the entity itself can take different shapes. Why? Because your business changes, your operation changes. So oftentimes when people come to us, I see they are sticking with the same entity for a very, very long time, even though their business needs has changed quite a bit. So that's one of the advantages you get by working with a professional, because they can get to meet with you every year. They take a look at what kind of business you have and suggest you what you should be doing. Okay. And like I said, LLC is not the way to save on taxes. LLCs, all they do is provide you an asset protection. In addition to LLC, you should also consider umbrella insurance as well. Same thing for asset protection. So I think combination of umbrella insurance and LLC can provide you a better protection overall. Now, oftentimes you will see when you go to an accountant, a CPA, a tax attorney, enrolled agent, what they will talk about is S Corp. So S Corp is a way to potentially save on taxes. So we'll talk a little bit more about that just in a second, but there is that conversion needed. But should you convert that on day one? Let's say if you're making $10,000, should you convert into S Corp? Probably not. There's a time and place for all of these changes to happen. So just don't go run out and start making these random elections, random changes, because there are consequences. Sometimes I will see somebody will walk in and they put a real estate in S corp, and all of a sudden now they want to get that. They want to sell that property, and now they're dealing with all kind of taxes. Sometimes they will move their business into a C corp because somebody told them that, hey, if you sell the C corp, you can get you don't have to pay taxes on that sale. I can go on and on, but so many mistakes people make because they just hear something and they go out there and do it. The simple solution is set up a 30-minute consult. If it's a big complicated matter, maybe an hour consult, and try to understand the matter at hand, so you understand where the holes are, so you can plug in those holes. Should you use LLCs for rental properties? Right? Yes, you should. So a couple of things to watch out for. So another common mistakes that I see people make is they will set up an LLC in a different state. Why? Because somebody told them so. Their friend told them, their family member told them. Sometimes they're even attorneys, there are influencers out there who says, you know what, go set up a LLC in Wyoming or Delaware or Indiana or Nevada, all kind of answers that I see. So the basic rule of thumb is that you want to set up your company in the state that you're doing business in. So let's say, imagine if I live in California and if I'm buying a property in Texas, it makes sense to set up an LLC in the state of Texas. If I set one up in California and I buy a property in Texas, what will happen is I would have to go to Texas and again set up a foreign entity in Texas. So that creates complications. Luckily, Texas doesn't have a corporate taxes, but some of the states have corporate taxes as well. So in that case, you might get taxed twice as well. So be careful with where you set up a tax the LLCs, because depending upon how you treat that LLC, there could be extra fees, extra compliance, extra legal fees, extra tax returns, extra registration fees. So all it can become a mess. So please don't do that. So if you already have an LLC, can you register it in another state? Yes, you can. But like I said, those are called as a foreign entities. And again, there's a cost associated with them. Okay. Like I said, Nevada, Wyoming, or Delaware. Those are the most common when I see when people are registering and then they come, hey, I already have a company in Wyoming, or I already have a company in Delaware. I want to go ahead and buy a property in California or in Texas. Can that protect me? Can that help me? Yes, it can offer you protection, but there are additional steps. You need to re-register that company in that state again. So don't rush out there and make that mistake. So those of you guys who are starting up a business, so let's talk about business, by the way. If you are a business owner, then I run a small business advisory group. It's a twice a month meeting. So we meet on Zoom and we talk about all sorts of things about growing your business. We talk about the tax aspects. We talk about, finance aspects. We talk about marketing. We talk about operations. So all kind of things. So if you already have a business, you're thinking about starting a business, I invite you to join our advisory group. I think you'll find it very, very beneficial. So in the very beginning, a lot of time you might have heard of something called DBA, doing business as, versus setting up an LLC. So what's the difference? See, a DBA allows an LLC to operate under a different name than its registered legal name. Like, think of it like a local trademark that reserves a business name in a particular state. So let's say if my company name is ABC LLC, but I want to really operate it as Deepak Sharma. So I can go ahead and register that as a DBA with my LLC. And now I can either, take a check under my LLC name, or I can take a check under my DBA name. Is it necessary to have a DBA if the business and LLCs are the same, like if the names are same? No. Yeah, you can just simply use the LLC name. You only need a DBA if you're going to have an additional name. And can DBA naming rules vary by the state? Yes, different states have various terms and processes for DBAs. For I'll give an example for California, because I have a lot of customers from California and Texas in particular. So for California, California uses the term fictitious name and registered DBAs by county, versus, let's say, if you go to a different state, let's say Arizona, they use a term called trade name and registers at a state level. So you need to kind of figure out, depending upon which state you are in, how do they register a DBA? So very, very important. Now, do you even need a DBA? Let's say you're starting out a business. Let's say you're starting out a food business or whatnot. By the way, food business is another good business that you should definitely consider setting up an LLC before you start distributing the food. If somebody had an allergic reaction or some sort of problem, that can be a big lawsuit. So definitely you should consider protecting yourself by setting up an LLC for that one. But main point is, let's say if you have a small business, maybe you have a website business, right? So John Doe website creator. You can do that business under your name. You don't have to have a DBA. You don't have to have an LLC. There's not much risk there. You set that up, and if it works out, if you're making good money, then consider creating a DBA. Maybe John Doe websites, for example. And if it's making good money, then you move on. Maybe set up an LLC, and then we kind of consider, do we want to take it to an S corp later on? So that's the process. Okay. Um, let's see. So we talk about LLC. What about trademarks? A lot of time people use trademarks. Are they different than a DBA? So a trademark reserves a business name across all 50 states. So this is the problem. Let's say you set up a company in California, and then maybe a few years later you move to Texas. Well, because you register a company in California doesn't mean that name will be available in Texas, right? So that's the problem. But if you have a trademark, so that gives you a better protection. So a trademark reserves a business name across all 50 states, ensuring nationwide exclusivity. It is filed with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office and requires actual or intended use of the name. A DBA, on the other hand, is very local. It's very state focused. So even LLCs or S corporation or C corp, because they are registered with that local state. So that's why you want to be. If your business is successful, you're doing great. Definitely consider trademark. And if you don't have one, you're thinking about getting one, reach out to us. We work with attorneys. We can definitely help you at that, and very reasonable prices. So it's not like you know, we're not like a typical, when you go to a law firm, the rates could be anywhere. So we partner up with some attorneys who are very, very reasonable. Definitely we can recommend you to those attorneys and get that done for you. Okay. What about website domains? Or so for example, let's say if you have a company name ABC Corp and somebody has a website abc.com already, what do you do in that case? So that creates a problem, right? So because that person registered the website before you, he can charge you. You might, if providing you have a trademark and that's causing you a problem, you might be able to restrict them from using that, but you can't take that URL away from them. So that creates a problem. So when forming an LLC, I strongly recommend that you should consider the website domain, DBA, and a trademark as part of your long-term business plan. So if you have a good business, you have a good startup, you're thinking, and we have a lot of startup clients, by the way. So if you are a startup, definitely we can help you out. No problem there at all. But but keep that in mind, whether you're a startup or you're, retail store, but if you're planning on expanding, you're trying to make that business a big business, then definitely consider a website domain name. You definitely need to have that, and a DBA and a trademark. So have those three items. That will give you a really good branding and really, really good legal protection. So please don't ignore that. That's a very important point. Okay, what else I hear about LLCs a lot? Series LLCs. So I hear about series LLCs a lot. That's another hot topic these days. You might have heard of them. So a series LLC consists of one parent LLC, so you have one major company with multiple sub-series under it. So each providing separate liability protection. Now, why do people do that? Is, you imagine if you're a big investor and you're buying 100 properties and you create 100 LLCs, that adds up a lot of cost, and it creates a lot of extra work as well. So to deal with that problem, people consider a series LLC. So it's like a big company, and then within the company, you have like small chapters underneath it. Now, this structure is especially used for real estate investors who have multiple properties, allowing each property to be isolated in its own series for liability purposes. So, if you are one of those, then yes, we can definitely help you and connect you with the right attorney who can get that done for you. So Delaware was the first state to allow the series LLCs, I think, back in 1996. After that, it was Wisconsin, and then other states kind of followed. Now, about 16 or 17 states currently allow them. So not every state allows them. So, let us know which state, and then we can check to make sure that your state allows for that. And series LLCs are particularly beneficial for complex estate protection strategies. So if you have multiple properties and you want to protect them all, this could be a way to do that. Um, you know, for example, we can consider, so let's say, obviously, if you have a lot of properties, then this wouldn't be the only thing you would do, right? Because you have bigger risk. You're more or less like a target. Somebody wants to go after somebody who has a lot of money. You'll be an ideal person to do that. So in those cases, you might want to consider advanced strategies like we talked about COPE, which is charging order protection entity, that can provide you enhanced asset protection, that you can convert LLC to an S corp for tax purposes. You can use Wyoming LLCs for privacy, or you can even create IRA LLCs for retirement account investments. So there's not like one solution that kind of works for everyone. There's like a little piece of puzzle that might work for one person and then might not work for the other person. So my recommendation is, please just seek out a quick consultation. Tell us a little bit about yourself. We want to get to know you, and then we can recommend what might be a great way to move forward with that. Now, LLCs are the preferred entity type for partnerships and raising capital. So if you want to get like all bunch of people together, crowd funded, buy a property together, I think LLC is a great structure because they are very flexible and they provide you good protection. So very, very, very good idea. And I already talked about that. That just be very careful with the Nevada, Wyoming, Delaware, all of that stuff. Generally that's not really helpful. Sometimes they can be helpful, but not all the time. Here's another one. I think this is a great tax one. People often would ask us, should we set up an LLC in a state with no state tax to save on taxes in California? Because that's where the majority of my clients are, but not everyone. And you could be in any state. So no, like I said, setting up an LLC in a state with no state tax like Nevada or Florida does not exempt you from state taxes in your operating state. So let's just say if I'm a resident of Texas and I go buy property in California, okay, California has great appreciations, great prospects. So I'm excited. I go do that. Any income that I generate from that LLC is actually taxable in the state of California. Even though I don't live in California, I don't, maybe I occasionally go there, but I definitely don't stay there for a long time. Still, I would have to pay taxes in the state of California because I have a property there. So understand that. Is it necessary to have a separate LLC for each business operation? So let's say if you're doing, one business, another one, no, not necessarily. You can use multiple business activities can be run under one LLC. You can maybe consider different DBAs. So you can, for example, let's say I have a company, ABC Corp, and maybe I do a tax business, and maybe I want to separate out my business advisory business. So maybe I want to create small business advisory council of Deepak Sharma, for example. I can do that. I can create a DBA under that name and DBA under name and still kind of operate under the same LLC. The only reason I would consider creating a different LLC is if I see a significant risk in one business compared to other business. Then I would consider that. Other than that, I would not consider that. Um, so those are all the things that I typically see related to LLC. Now, if you are thinking about starting an LLC, or you have questions about LLC, or you're a startup, or you're a business owner, you're planning on buying or selling a real estate, please reach out to us. We work nationwide. We can definitely assist you. We can definitely give you some guidance at what you can and cannot do. So thank you so much for watching this video. And if you have any questions, please go to our website, taxcodeadvisors.com. All right. Thank you so much.